officially the weekend. Thanks so much for spending your time with us here on Your Weekend on Spectrum News 1. I'm Jada Montemarano. We begin our show with the deal made between SAG-AFTRA and the major Hollywood studios. But first, here's some of the other stories we have for you.
This ambulance is used to teach paramedic students critical skills to save lives. Coming up, we'll talk about why paramedic students right now are very important.
Interacting with animals has been shown to boost feelings of social support and decrease levels of loneliness and the stress-related hormone cortisol. I'm Taylor Torregano at USC with why the Humane Society of USC has brought furry friends like Apple to help students improve their mental health. Coming up.
Cricket will be a part of the 2028 games here in LA, and there's a push to grow the sport locally. I'm Jazz Kang in the Valley. Coming up, I have the story of how one local player is striving to represent Team USA in 2028.
Now to our top story. The SAG-AFTRA National Board has approved the new contract for its more than 160,000 union members. The negotiating team unanimously voted Wednesday on the deal proposed by the AMPTP, which ended the 118-day strike on midnight Thursday. The new contract will include wage increases, protections from the threat of AI, streaming participation bonus, and much more. The agreement still needs to be ratified by a vote from SAG's full membership in the coming weeks. Of course, it'll take some time for the industry to bounce back after the production shutdowns. And while businesses in and around Hollywood can breathe a little sigh of relief, it's still bittersweet as the strike nearly cost the national economy $6 billion, impacting prop houses, restaurants, and more. I went to North Hollywood to find out what happens next. Warehouses like these hold the key to making your favorite movies and TV shows come to life. Owner of Advanced Liquidators Studio Rentals, Mark Goldman, says providing office furniture, even newspapers, to productions is a lot of fun. But lately, it's been anything but.
None of this has gone out for 6 months, and it's sad. We are definitely excited to get rolling again.
While Mark is usually renting desks, chairs, even copy machines to shows like Abbott Elementary, between the WGA and the SAG-AFTRA strikes, they've had little to no business.
The strike, kind of started for us in March because people knew it was coming and they stopped kind of filming or starting projects. And it's been detrimental for us and among all our fellow prop houses.
Film LA reports that local production from April to June fell to the lowest levels since the midst of the pandemic. Mark had to reduce his employees' hours, even laying off a few, and burn through the company's savings to keep up with wages and rent of this 80,000 square foot space.
We've just had to cut back everywhere, and it's been really sad because we have employees that can't pay their rent, and people just don't realize outside of the industry the effect that this had, and it's been awful.
According to a strategist at the Milken Institute, the strikes have cost the national economy about $6 billion. And while a tentative agreement has met most of SAG-AFTRA's demands, Mark says it's bittersweet because there's no way for the secondary entertainment businesses like his to make up the money lost.
For me, I've had many texts of friends knowing how difficult it's been on our business, along with our fellow prop houses, saying, congratulations, the strike's over. But I'm happy today, but there's a lot of work to be done. It's not going to just start today and all our business is back. People are upset, and it's going to take a while to rebuild. The money's lost. You can't get that back.
Mark says it'll take time for productions to ramp back up, so our favorite movies and TV shows may not be on our screens for a while, especially with the upcoming holidays, but he's hoping it'll move quickly.
We're ready. We're just ready for those decorators to just pull in and start shopping. We're ready.
Ready to get Hollywood back to business. Supporting our veterans starts with making sure they can do the things they love most. This Veterans Day weekend, our Vanya Patino introduced us to GeroFit, a VA program keeping older veterans in shape and surrounded by community.
Oh, there we go.
This gaming exercise bike is not veteran Robert Cleave's usual ride.
I flew jet fighters in the Air Force for 33 years.
And after the service, switched gears to none other than driving racing cars recreationally with a lifetime of incredible experiences. At 93 years old, it hasn't been easy to now be limited on his mobility, but it's why he's coming here.
That's it. Perfect.
To the Veteran Affairs exercise program, GeroFit, laser focused on a new goal.
Walk without the necessity of having a walker.
He fell last year and broke his hip and has been hard at work on this bike.
Fine, I like to do this.
And front and center at the group setting exercise classes, working to improve his endurance, strength, and balance.
And I want to get better.
A goal that aligns with the program's mission to get older veterans who are at risk of mobility decline back into shape. It's what happened with Army and Navy veteran Grant Blackman, who has been attending the program since it started in Los Angeles back in 2014.
I probably wouldn't even be walking now if I wouldn't come out here.
Dr. Stephen Castle, who oversees the program, says it's not just about physical health.
The other part of it is the social interaction. That's very strong, and we've actually shown reduction in PTSD within a month of joining the GeroFit program.
The shared laughs in between exercise reps is uniquely healing.
It's delightful to be able to have people that you can talk to who have things they can talk to you about as well.
And it's those little gems of connecting with others who understand that Dr. Castle says makes an enormous difference.
I see individuals, no matter where they're starting, get better before your very eyes, and you see this brightness come in their eyes.
And this year, the Los Angeles Center had gaming bikes donated and is part of a new effort to better track fitness levels.
They exercise more because they want to finish the game.
Adding it also helps with cognitive functions, which hopefully helps reduce dementia, to help them remember all they have done for the country, all they have lived, and the memories they continue to create here while working on getting back to their lifestyle.
I'd like to get back to like you guys do. You're walking around.
Honoring our veterans by making sure they have the quality of life and freedom they deserve.
California continues to be a leader in the fight against climate change. Coming up, the new plan that will take away gas appliances from certain buildings. And there's a shortage of paramedics in California. Find out why with us after the break. Starting next year, California will take on a massive, unprecedented effort to remove gas-powered appliances from both residential and commercial buildings. The process is called decarbonization. The city of LA is also expected to pass a similar policy next year, but based on a new report, the program could lead to evictions and rent increases. Our Anna Alabarian reports.
The stove crackles as it turns on, and Maria de Lourdes Mata begins a familiar task in her kitchen, boiling water for her coffee. Lourdes, who's in her 60s, has lived in this Echo Park rental unit with her family for nearly 35 years. She says, all my children have grown up here, all my grandchildren, and we have lived here as if it is our house because it is home. But soon, Lourdes may have to leave the decades of memories she's made here behind as she faces an eviction notice from her landlord, who plans to make major renovations to his building, including remodeling the kitchens and bathrooms, changing the flooring, and putting in new appliances. And he says the work can't be done with tenants on site. Lourdes says when she got the eviction notice,
Se me acabó el mundo.
My world ended. Where am I going to go? Eviction cases like the one Lourdes is facing could increase as early as next year. That's when LA City will start asking landlords to decarbonize their buildings by removing gas-powered appliances. It's part of a statewide effort to cut 85% of greenhouse gas emissions by the year 2045.
Buildings are an important component of this plan because they are responsible for 25% of the greenhouse gas emissions across the state.
Chelsea Kirk is a policy director at Strategic Actions for a Just Economy. She authored a 26-page report on the state's decarbonization policy, including both its benefits and how it can impact low-income tenants.
This transition is very needed. California and LA specifically feel the climate crisis really intensely, right? It's getting hotter. We're seeing more and more wildfires. We're seeing floods now.
But she says removing gas appliances from residential buildings is an expensive undertaking and could lead to substantial rent increases or, worst case scenario, mass evictions for some tenants.
And there's a specific loophole called the substantial renovation loophole. And basically, it allows landlords to evict tenants to undergo construction projects.
And while it's currently legal for landlords to evict tenants for major renovations, Chelsea is hoping this loophole is closed by the time LA enforces its decarbonization policy, because she doesn't want to see the situation Lourdes is in playing out at a larger scale.
Toda mi vida, cómo han crecido aquí mis hijos.
The life that I've made here with my family, the memories we've created with my neighbors, if we leave elsewhere, we would have to start all over, which is the most difficult part. Her story representing the potential impact of decarbonizing Los Angeles, one that she hopes the city will address.
And in your health news, the FDA approved Eli Lilly's diabetes medication for treating chronic obesity. The drug is called Zepbound and is similar to Ozempic. It was approved for adults who struggle with obesity or who have a weight-related condition. The drug will be available by the end of the year. It's expected to cost about $1,000 for a month's supply. And as we head into cold and flu season, more illnesses like strep throat will be on the rise. But the shortage of antibiotics continues. The most common to treat strep is amoxicillin. And according to the Food and Drug Administration, there's been a low supply of the powder form since October 2022. The capsules and tablets, though, are not impacted. And there's another shortage to keep an eye on. There's a need for paramedics here in California. A top official at the CDC says many of the healthcare systems are at a breaking point in the U.S. due to staffing and mental health issues among healthcare workers. Our Jamie Kennedy sat in on a paramedic class to see how students are handling this.
It was fate, paramedic student Ravim Karbatu believes, that steered him towards a career in emergency medical services after stopping to help at a car crash prior to any training.
Had called the local fire department at Roseville. They had come out and they were just very surprised with my ability to park my car, block the traffic, and kind of interact with the patient. So they were like, hey, you know, have you ever thought of pursuing a career in fire rescue or EMS?
Ravim is already a trained EMT and on his way to becoming a paramedic through Sacramento State University's program.
It's one of the most rewarding jobs in the world. You know, you actually get to affect people's lives on a daily basis when they're in the most critical and, you know, they're calling 911 because, you know, this is the end for them.
It's that kind of enthusiasm officials from around the state are happy to see, as well as full classrooms of new paramedics, as the state and the country are dealing with an EMT and paramedic shortage. This year, Orange County, Los Angeles, Riverside and more have all reported shortages. The shortage is a combination of COVID hangover and retention issues, according to Sac State's paramedic program director, Jason Hemler.
I don't want to say burnout, but it's a high stressful job, so it's not something that, you know, you're going to spend 30 years doing.
The American Ambulance Association reports nationally more than 1/3 of new EMS hires leave within the first year of employment. Jason notes not having experienced people hurts for the 500 hours of on-the-job training needed for students to become certified.
That's where everything gets bottlenecked with paramedic programs. I can have 100 people sitting in that classroom, but I need to be able to also have 100 people placed on ambulances within a certain period of time to get them trained.
Such is the demand for his students. Jason says they've had to limit classroom presentations from companies.
What we've had to do now is we can't really disrupt the class as often as we get requests to come in and basically recruit our students. So now we have it set up to where they can set up a lunchtime Zoom meeting or they can come in at lunch.
Jason says 97% of his students are hired within 6 months of graduation. Knowing this and that there's a shortage of people like himself, Ravim says he wants to do his part to promote the industry.
Getting exposure out there and letting people know what our work is about, I think, will entice the youth of America.
A small part, Ravim says, he can play to help an industry so many lives depend on.
High school students in Santa Ana are on their way to college with the help of the Boys and Girls Club. After the break, the organization's holistic approach. And the new Humane Society at USC's campus is giving the chance for students to de-stress. The help that they're bringing in. Stick with us after the break. Every year on November 8th, universities across the nation celebrate the success of first-generation college students. High schoolers whose parents haven't gone to college are getting help from the Boys and Girls Club in Santa Ana. But as our Carmen Valencia reports, their approach is a little different. Check this out.
This is where you can find Natalie Lopez spending most of her time, whether it's painting, studying, or preparing for her next steps in her college journey.
I have two dreams. I would say like a big dream, maybe be like a Vogue photographer. I think that would be really cool. If not, I also really want to be like a user experience designer.
Natalie, a senior at Samueli Academy, is part of the college-bound program with the Boys and Girls Club in Santa Ana. As a first-generation Mexican Salvadorian student, she never imagined pursuing her educational dreams because it was not talked about in her family.
Most people don't really get those opportunities in our specific communities. I know in middle school, like the topic of college was never really touched upon, and then early in high school, it was kind of like the normal for like most people of color to go to community college.
But the possibilities of going after her education changed when she got involved in this program. Natalie has dedicated her last 2 years working with advisors, applying for scholarships, and letting go of her fears.
So I think having academic programs like that really like pushes my boundaries to think like beyond just like community college or like the local college and really like reach for my own dreams.
Crystal Duran, Chief Operations Officer of the Boys and Girls Club, says the program has over 2,000 students in the community.
This program really has three objectives. It's to ensure that all of our teens we serve graduate high school, that they graduate on time and with a plan for their future, and that that plan is financially sustainable.
She says it's important for the program to work with students in this community because the majority are first-gen, low-income, and face a financial burden to overcome.
A lot of their parents, while extremely supportive, just may not be able to help them navigate through the various steps and the complicated steps that it takes to get from graduating high school into college and the process it takes to get accepted into those colleges. So what we really do is we focus on the services for the students, that holistic approach, as well as providing a lot of family engagement opportunity.
As Natalie gets ready to embark on her journey to college, she realizes she is breaking generational barriers.
Like in a couple years, hopefully like my sister can look back on it and she'll be like, okay, like I have this program, I have my sister to like look onto like as support.
She is paving the path for family, friends, and the community to change their future educational dreams.
While high school students are getting excited for college, a new Gallup report says actually 4 in 10 college students have recently considered dropping out. The #1 reason, emotional stress. Tackling this issue is a sophomore from USC's Humane Society. He wants to connect students with the healing powers of furry friends as they navigate midterms and many other life stressors. Taylor Torregano reports.
Interacting with animals has been shown to boost feelings of social support and decrease levels of loneliness and the stress-related hormone cortisol. I'm Taylor Torregano at USC with why the Humane Society of USC has brought furry friends like Apple to help students improve their mental health. The past few weeks have been particularly stressful for USC sophomore Hannah Aronson. She just finished with midterms, and her class assignments feel never ending.
You know, you want to do well, and it's like when your brain is just so tired and you got to keep going and going, it's just like, ugh.
Beyond that, she says she's worried sick about her family in Israel. Her whole dad's side lives there, and she's constantly checking the updates on the war online or in the group message she has with her cousins who live there. It all gets overwhelming, Hannah says, which is why this was such a welcome surprise. The Humane Society of USC is hosting this mental health awareness event with LA Animal Services and several other rescue organizations, bringing 7 adoptable dogs and 4 therapy dogs to serve as de-stressors for the students, while also giving them the opportunity to take one home.
Right on. Good girl.
Skylar Nahurai is the founder of the first ever chapter of the Humane Society at USC. He was raised with a deep appreciation for animals and also established the first chapter of the Humane Society at his high school.
The goal is to share what I know, share my experiences with students of USC. And not only USC, we hope to spread awareness to our greater Los Angeles community. And the goal is to truly explain the bidirectional relationship between animals and humans and how much good that can do for us.
A recent survey shows around 41% of college students across the U.S. have symptoms of depression. But animal communicator Liz Murdoch says she's reminding these students that connecting with animals and even thinking of their own pets at home can help them navigate difficult emotions.
It gives them a healthy way to process feelings of sadness or grief and sometimes guilt. So we're just helping give them a boost that things are sometimes better than they realize.
It was true for Hannah, who says this was exactly what she needed.
You ever get really stressed out and it's just like animals, you see like a little smiling face, a little furry dog, a little happy little cat, and it's just like, you know, for a minute it's just like all that melts away.
A regrounding from the Golden Companions, who we can always count on to show unconditional love.
The power of a furry friend right there. And the Humane Society of USC is sponsored and recognized by the Humane Society of the United States. For more information, you can visit the link on the screen. And it's getting more difficult to afford fire insurance in the state, especially in Southern California. Coming up, we hear from a homeowner on how she's dealing with the issue. And we also hear from the Paradise community on how they're feeling 5 years after the Camp Fire ripped through their town. Stick with us. We're coming right back.
I'm Renee Ng, and this is your Spectrum News 1 update. More details have emerged on the recent SAG-AFTRA deal with Hollywood studios. According to Variety, the deal includes a 7% raise and a $40 million residual bonus for actors on streaming shows and movies. It also puts the power in the hands of actors on whether or not they want their likelihood replicated through the use of AI. SAG-AFTRA says the tentative deal is valued at more than $1 billion over 3 years. It was approved by the National Board and will be next voted on by actors. Preparations are underway in San Francisco, getting the city ready to host a meeting between President Biden and Chinese President Xi Jinping. The two will meet at the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Conference this weekend, which is expected to welcome up to 20,000 people and thousands of protesters.
Time now for weather on the ones. Your wake-up temperatures for your Saturday morning will be on the chilly side. Upper 20s, low 30s up in the high desert. Even on the west side of the mountains, wind-protected valleys will drop into the 30s. And then most of us will see 40s and 50s, so grab that extra blanket before you go to bed tonight. And then for your high temperatures, nice and warm. A lot of 70s and 80s on the map during the afternoon. Plenty of sunshine, also some weak offshore winds for the morning hours. That's your weather on the ones.
The White House says Israel implemented a 4-hour daily humanitarian pause in its assault on Hamas in northern Gaza. This will allow for more assistance to enter Gaza while letting civilians flee. President Biden has also pressed Israel for a multi-day stoppage to negotiate the release of hostages held by Hamas. And the panda diplomacy program between the U.S. and China is ending indefinitely. The Smithsonian National Zoo's 3 giant pandas are now back in China after leaving Washington, D.C. on Wednesday. Their departure marks the end of more than 50 years of Chinese pandas being housed at the zoo, which was the first in the U.S. to do so. More than 2 million people live in parts of the state deemed a very high fire risk. That's according to the California Wildfire Danger Map. And it's true for the town of Paradise, which was destroyed by the deadly Camp Fire back in 2018. But for many Californians, fire insurance is either too hard to get or just not affordable anymore. Our Natalie Basha explains how the state may be helping out.
She's lived in Lobo Canyon off Canaan Road for many years, and it's a place that Jamie Rupert loves deeply.
The nature, the beauty, the strength of the earth that surrounds us here is something that you get to benefit from every day, but the risk of fire is very real and very scary.
But when the Woolsey fire tore through these canyons around Canaan Road in 2018, Jamie lost her home and everything inside it.
The entire canyon burned. Everything burned. The house, I lost everything. My neighbors lost everything. Horrified, but it happened so quickly.
With fire season upon us and the winds picking up around us, Jamie is reliving that experience.
That unknowing and the trauma of reliving it again, just with the wind, just hearing the wind and remembering that wind. It's horrifying.
Today, she's living next door in a new house, looking at the empty lot where her old house used to be, right through her kitchen windows. She has fire coverage on the house, but she says her annual rate has become so unaffordable, she may have to leave her beloved canyon.
Where I am now, it's $15,000, $20,000 to do that. I've heard much higher rates for other people in the canyon.
In September, Governor Gavin Newsom issued an executive order for prompt regulatory action to address homeowners like Jamie facing increasingly unaffordable home and fire insurance. But critics say it's too little, too late.
What we see in this situation is insurance companies shifting the whole brunt of climate change onto consumers.
Carmen Balber of Consumer Watchdog says homeowners should push state lawmakers to hold insurance companies accountable.
So what people can really do, aside from shopping around, is go to their state lawmakers and say enough is enough. We need to rein in the greed of the insurance industry in California, require them to sell to people who are doing the right thing.
As for Jamie, she's hoping that Governor Newsom's plan comes through to help people like her.
We all live with that, the responsibility we feel as residents in a place where there's a risk of fire. We're better people to insure because we know what to do and what to be careful about.
So that she can remain in peace and safety in her beloved Lobo Canyon.
And in talking about this fire insurance, we mentioned those impacted by the Camp Fire. This week marks 5 years since it's ravaged through the town of Paradise. 85 people lost their lives and more than 18,000 homes, businesses, and buildings were destroyed. Our Daniela Pardo tells us how the community is doing 5 years later.
Tucked away in the foothills of the Sierra Nevada mountains, Paradise is slowly but surely making a comeback. Sonny Ventimiglia and his wife first moved to Paradise in 2010. They were drawn to the town for its high quality of life and affordability.
Paradise really is paradise. It is gorgeous, not only in its weather, in its energy, in its space, but in its people.
More than 26,000 people lived there before the Camp Fire. Sonny was able to move back in the fall of 2020, 2 years after the most traumatic day of his life.
It was so thick, you couldn't see through it. And then right underneath it, it felt like a dragon was behind it. There was this massive fireball that came and just went up the pine tree and blasted right out at the top.
5 years after that unforgettable day, the father of three feels grateful for the chance to rebuild his home, which is one of about 14,000 that were destroyed. The only thing left was his chimney.
I saw this as an opportunity for my children to get to see a community rebuild from nothing, and to understand what it's like to lose everything and put in the work to build back your dreams.
Today, there's a whole lot more than a chimney. Sonny has even added this massive firefighting water pump, which helps provide him with peace of mind. His property is among the 3,000 homes that have rebuilt, and nearly 1,000 are under construction.
Everyone who's here now is intentional in their being here. They chose to come back, or they chose to relocate here.
Jen Goodland and her family relocated from Colorado in the early stages of the recovery process. The mom of four grew up in Paradise and had gone back to visit 6 months after the fire to say goodbye to her hometown. However, life had other plans.
What if we were part of this recovery? And so I went home and talked to my husband, and he thought I was crazy. I just said, what if we moved to Paradise, not
not like when it's better, like now. The Goodlands bought land in 2019 and moved into their home last year. COVID delayed the construction timeline, and the family of 6 ended up living in a trailer for 2.5 years while their home was built.
I learned right away, like boots on the ground, the hardship of what it meant to rebuild here. I had no idea.
She's now the executive director of the Rebuild Paradise Foundation. The nonprofit helps provide resources to support the town's recovery.
I don't want to ever paint our community as like rainbows and butterflies, you know, because there is a realness to living here that is still difficult.
The soaring cost of insurance is the biggest challenge that Jen and Sunny say are making it hard for people to stay or move to Paradise.
I hope that that can turn itself around, because the reality is people can't build without that.
Sunny hopes to see state leaders come up with a solution soon so that more families like his can enjoy living in Paradise.
And coming up, cracking down on road polluters. We'll show you the process from start to finish. And ocean pollution is impacting the coast of San Diego. How communities are reacting next. We'll be right back after the break. Music lovers, we have some news for you. The 2024 Grammy nominations are out, and this year, women are on top. That's what I like to hear. The award show is also making some changes, but for the better. They're introducing 3 new categories: Best Pop Dance Recording, Best African Music Performance, and Best Alternative Jazz Album. And as I mentioned, women are leading the top nominations. R&B artist SZA has the most this year with 9 for her SOS album. Tied for 7 nominations, Victoria Monet and Phoebe Bridgers. Then tied for 6 nominations, we have a long list: Jack Antonoff, Jon Batiste, Boy Genius, Brandy Clark, Miley Cyrus, Billie Eilish, Olivia Rodrigo, and Taylor Swift. Oof, a mouthful. If you want to see who's going to win, the Grammys will air on CBS on February 4th. Back here at home, more than a month ago, we told you about referee testers. They're like detectives called in to investigate special cases involving big rigs and excessive pollution. They track down the state's worst road polluters with a new kind of machine. Our Parker Collins got clearance to follow along with enforcement and shows us the process.
This camera looks at license plates. This tube sucks up the air coming from these passing heavy-duty trucks to be analyzed. Together, the system can pick out the worst polluters in just seconds, alerting Air Resources engineer Isaac Lino with a peek on this real-time graph. He then radios nearby officers to pull over those identified big rigs using short phrases to convey vehicle specifics.
Scratch that, White International.
California Air Resources Board technicians then do the in-depth emissions and engine tests. Drivers could then be cited, told to fix something, or even sent to special referee testers like this one in Riverside to make sure their vehicles are running as cleanly as possible without tampering. This area is known for poor air quality, something Isaac's been dealing with since he was a kid.
I grew up in Mexico City, so it was a community and a city that it had a lot of smog and emissions.
Pop-up roadside monitoring is part of the rollout of the Clean Truck Check program. Eventually, this will require regular emissions testing for all trucks that drive in California, much like the smog check you get for your personal vehicle. Today, Diesel Equipment Enforcement Section Manager Aaron Shields says they're only going after the worst offenders because
one high-emitting truck can emit as much as 60 clean trucks. And of course, it's very variable, but if something is out of repair or something has been disconnected or tampered, the emissions can be much, much, much higher.
Driver Roberto Flores got pulled over.
This is good for the environment, but I mean, in the same time, it's kind of harsh because sometimes, you know, the system's giving us couple problems.
The whole process set back his ETA, but he was not fined nor cited. A lot of times, there's no penalty as long as a driver quickly takes care of any issue. You have to weigh the slowdown against the payout.
We can help with the environmental justice, but ultimately, it's just to clean the air.
There are many routes to the final destination. breathable air.
The ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach are receiving $60 million to purchase zero-emission Class 8 dryage trucks that will operate out of the San Pedro Bay Ports complex. And speaking of pollution, dozens of organizations are calling for an emergency declaration to be issued because it's flowing up the coast of San Diego from Mexico. Bree Steffen spoke with the people affected in the communities about how they need immediate help.
Good, how are you?
Taking care of her community is important to Bethany Case, but despite her work to pick up trash, the beaches of Imperial Beach are still not clean. Sewage, trash, and pollution from Tijuana has been leaking over the border into the San Diego region for decades. Due to the health danger, the beaches in Imperial Beach have been closed for more than 200 days this year alone.
It is embarrassing and it's frustrating. It's hard to be in a really cool beach town and not be able to use the beach.
Bethany became the lead volunteer for Clean Border Water Now, part of the Surfrider Foundation, after a large sewage flow created a huge stench over all Imperial Beach and caused several days of beach closures in 2017.
We have to live here. We can't afford to go anywhere else in San Diego.
Sarah Davidson works for Surfrider Foundation, one of more than 40 nonprofit organizations across San Diego County, to call for Governor Newsom and President Biden to declare a state and federal emergency.
Cut through the red tape, provide all kinds of resources through additional state and federal agencies that we don't have access to for this problem right now.
The Environmental Protection Agency is part of the multi-million-dollar plan to address pollution flow, focusing on building and improving wastewater infrastructure projects on both sides of the border. Doug Leiden is an environmental engineer currently on assignment in Mexico City.
Recognizing that we cannot solve this problem entirely on the U.S. side, that it's going to really take a joint effort.
Doug calculates these projects will reduce wastewater flowing to the coast by 90% and hopes some of them will be completed in a year or two. He estimates the cost of a true solution is closer to $1 billion, and any additional funding they can get will greatly help.
Obviously, the more money we get for these projects, the bigger we can make that treatment plant. Very much feel the pain of the community down there.
Surfrider has gathered more than 3,200 signatures supporting an emergency declaration, and they also sent those to President Biden and Governor Newsom. Bethany says they will keep advocating for their small community and the health of other beach communities along the coast.
As much as I love how good the parking is now, I hope that this beach is so jam-packed that it's hard to park, that there are no more of these beach closed signs.
Working toward a better future where everyone can safely enjoy the beach.
And many community programs like Surf Camp had to be relocated or canceled due to the unsafe water quality and beach closures. And coming up, a popular South Asian sport similar to baseball is making a comeback at the LA 28 Olympics. When we come back, how one man is trying to make it on the USA cricket team. And we also check out a new bakery on this week's Running on Empty. If you're hungry, stay tuned for more. We'll have that for you. The International Olympic Committee recently approved a proposal to add new sports to the LA 28 Olympics. Baseball, softball, and lacrosse are all making a comeback. And debuting at the 2028 Games, flag football and squash. But another one that's returning to the Summer Olympics is cricket. The last time the South Asian sport was included was at the Paris 1900 Olympic Games. Our Jazz Kang has the story of one local man who's looking to be a part of the 2028 USA cricket team.
Every Sunday, you'll find him here playing in the Southern California Cricket Association League. Mrinal Patel plays for the Vijeta Cricket Club and is hoping to represent Team USA at the 2028 Games, with the sport returning to the Olympics for the first time since 1900. Whenever he steps onto the pitch, it brings him back to his childhood.
Every time I walk out there, you know, it reminds me of how I was as a kid when I was walking out.
Globally, cricket is the second most popular sport behind soccer, but it's still growing here in the U.S. Cricket is played 11-a-side on an oval field and is similar to baseball in a few ways. It's played with a bat and a ball, one team pitches or bowls, and one team is batting. Each team gets 1 inning of 6 overs, or 120 pitches, to score as many runs as they can. Murnal is one of 35,000 cricketers across the country who plays in a league. He's played for Team USA on and off since 2015 and wants to continue to grow the game by getting more youth involved.
You have to have the youth and the kids be excited about it. When the parents see their kids playing and getting happy, getting competitive, they get into it.
1 set! Raise your hand!
Getting more kids involved is exactly what the Southern California Cricket Youth Academy is trying to do. Sandeep Dewakle is the youth coaching director with the program. He's been involved with the sport for decades and has seen a shift when it comes to interest in recent years.
When we started this academy, the whole goal was how do we get the kids moving forward, right? At that time, 6 years back, the sport was not growing that fast.
Sandeep has seen an uptick among youth playing cricket. Around 75 children take part in the program each week at Woodley Park, and he says the numbers are growing all around Southern California.
We have grown from somewhere around 50 kids to around 250 kids.
The sport's making strides professionally as well. The LA Knight Riders just finished playing in the inaugural Major League Cricket season. The league uses the same format as they will at the 2028 games, which is called T20. It makes for shorter matches compared to the traditional test matches, which can take days to finish, something MLC tournament director Justin Gill thinks will resonate with American sports fans.
It's action-packed, it's high-scoring, goes about the same amount of time as a baseball game, 3 hours, give or take, and there's a lot more home runs.
Back at the pitch, as Murnal cheers on his teammates during the match, he thinks about what it would be like to wear the Stars and Stripes for the LA 2028 games.
It would mean everything to me, representing the country at the highest level of the sport.
As he works towards his Olympic dream, Murnal is also thankful for the community the sport has given him.
And get this, the city of Irvine has approved a 10,000-seat stadium that will be home to the LA Knight Riders. It'll be the first stadium specifically for cricket in Southern California.
Running on Empty, brought to you by your Southern California Chevy dealers.
And you know what that means. It's time for Running on Empty. I visited a baked goods paradise, pumping out bread, pastries, and more for hundreds of restaurants and grocery stores around SoCal. I take you behind the scenes to see how the bread is made on this week's Running on Empty. A well-oiled machine, literally. Bread Artisan Bakery had to expand these facilities to keep up with demand for their over 300 clients.
But that machine can produce about 9,000 pieces an hour and operate by only one person.
But while machines aid in production, head baker Yannick Guégon says they still put love and care into every loaf, croissant, and bun to keep their homemade feel.
It's a passion, and the choice of the ingredients as well. It's very important to choose the right ingredients, not going on the cheap side. And we take time, it's no shortcut on our production, so we take time to producing the best that we can.
And this mission started in 2010 when owner Johnny LaFranco took over the family business when her father, who wanted to bring artisan bread to SoCal, passed away. Johnny continued his dream by rebranding and partnering with restaurants and grocery stores to make it the baked goods empire it is today.
I was really just trying to survive in the beginning. I had 2 small children, single mom. I was making bread every day. As long as we were still around, I was trucking. But no, I never saw it get to this.
The bread can be found at restaurants like Mario's Butcher Shop as a staple of this massive pastrami sandwich or holding together spaghetti at Burnt Crumbs. Johnny says she never gets used to seeing her products transformed into delicious creations.
I feel really proud. When I walk into a restaurant and see our bread, I went to one of our customers on Sunday for brunch and saw everybody had a breakfast toast, and I was tickled.
But if you want to indulge at home, they expanded their direct-to-consumer options. When everything shut down during the pandemic, Bread Artisan Bakery started selling at farmers markets, even experimenting with pastries from the mind of Yannick. But at the end of the day, Johnny does this all for her family.
I just feel so grateful that I'm able to give this example to my 2 daughters. I didn't know what I could do until I did this. And so I have a lot more confidence now, and I know to trust my gut, do the right thing for people, and it comes back to you.
And Yannick spends every day crafting and innovating, which is his favorite part.
Always creating new product that people will enjoy and create adventure.
Pick your own adventure with the dozens of baked goods to choose from at Bread Artisan Bakery. Oof, I tried that massive pastrami sandwich from Mario's Butcher Shop using the rye bread. It was 10 out of 10. Everyone should try it. But Bread Artisan Bakery also sells directly to you at farmers markets and for pickup at their warehouse. So make sure to check them out on social media for all those details. They have some fun Thanksgiving options as well. And of course, send any recommendations my way at Jada Montemarano on social media. As always, thanks for joining us. Hopefully I didn't make you too hungry. Have a great and restful weekend. Thanks for joining.